Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something that, well, it really grabbed our attention. Some potentially exciting research in stem cell therapy.
That's right. We're focusing specifically on conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, but also how this might connect to, the bigger picture of aging science.
Exactly. And the source we're unpacking is a press release from a company called Immorta Bio. It talks about results from a preclinical study they did.
hmm And our job today really is to break down what this press release is actually saying. What are the key claims? What's Immorta Bio's specific angle here?
Yeah, and how does it fit into their wider goal? They talk about treating age-related diseases, maybe even aging itself as a disease.
And what made this particular source stand out, I think, was that direct claim of uh, superiority in their animal model. That's quite a bold statement.
It is. So we want to understand, based on their release, how they came to that conclusion. What's the basis for saying they're better?
Okay, so to get there, let's start with the basics. Mesenchymal stem cells, or MSCs, these are sort of the foundation here. The press release mentions they've been looked at a lot.
Yeah, it said over 1,000 clinical trials. That's huge.
It really is. It shows just how much hope and scientific effort is being poured into MSCs. The source notes their potential for, all sorts of degenerative conditions.
Right, the idea being they could maybe help repair tissues, calm down the immune system, reduce inflammation, things that go wrong in a lot of diseases.
Precisely. But Immorta Bio, through their chief scientific officer, Dr. Thomas Eacham, points out what they see as a big problem. A fundamental limitation, he calls it.
Okay, so despite all that promise, there's a hurdle. What is it?
Well, he highlights two main issues with the standard ways of doing things. First, if you use the patient's own cells, that's autologous therapy.
Your own cells? Okay, sounds ideal, no rejection, right.
You think so? But the problem is, if the patient's already older or has a degenerative condition, their cells are often, well, old too. And you might not be able to get very many of them. Aged and limited in number is how they put it.
Ah, I see. So you're trying to fix things with cells that might already be part of the problem, or at least not in peak condition, and not enough of them.
Exactly. Then there's the other approach, allogeneic cells, using cells from a healthy donor.
Okay, so younger cells may be more available.
Potentially, yes. But then you run into the risk of immune rejection. The patient's body might see those donor cells as foreign invaders and attack them, like with an organ transplant.
Right, so you're kind of stuck, your own cells are old and few, donor cells might get rejected. That does sound like a significant bottleneck.
It's a major challenge the field is working on, and this is where Immorta Bio steps in with their specific technology. It's proprietary, patent pending, and aims to solve exactly these problems. They call the end product young personalized stem cells.
Young personalized stem cells. Okay, the name itself seems to address both issues right there. Personalized suggests no rejection. Young suggests, well, not old. How do they actually make them, according to the release?
It's described as a two-step process. First, they take the patient's own cells, autologous cells, but instead of just using them, they use techniques for reprogramming and dedifferentiation.
Okay, reprogramming. Like taking a specialized cell, say a skin cell, and dialing it back to a more basic, flexible state.
That's the idea, like winding back the clock on that cell's development. The goal here is to create what they call pluripotent, immortal, personalized regenerative cells, PRC for short.
Right. Pluripotent means they can become lots of different cell types. Immortal suggests they can keep dividing. And personalized because they came from you. So they're creating a potentially endless supply of your own basic building block cells.
That seems to be the claim, overcoming the limited number and maybe even the aged aspect by making them pluripotent again. Then, step two, they take these PRC.
These sort of blank slate cells.
Exactly. And they guide their differentiation specifically into mesenchymal stem cells.
Yep.
But crucially, they define these as age-specified, young, personalized MSCs. They call them pMSC.
So start with your own cells, make an unlimited supply of basic cells, then turn those into young versions of the MSCs you need, all still personalized to you.
That's the concept laid out. The press release states the goal is an unlimited quantity of a patient's stem cells, revitalized to a youthful state, directly tackling those limitations of standard autologous cells.
It definitely sounds like an innovative approach on paper. How did they test it? This is where the rheumatoid arthritis study comes in.
Yes, this is the core data in the release. They used their pMSC product, in what's called the collagen-induced arthritis model, or CIA model.
And that's an animal model for rheumatoid arthritis.
It is. It's widely used because it shares key features with human RA, especially the chronic inflammation. And RA itself is often considered an age-related autoimmune disease, so it fits their theme.
Makes sense. So how did they run the study?
They injected their pMSC product intravenously into animals with this induced arthritis. The release notes the results were published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Stem Cell Research and Therapeutics.
Okay, peer-reviewed publication, that adds some weight. And they mentioned collaborators, too.
Yes, Biocentrium, Loma Linda University, and the Azemi Cardiovascular Institute. Having multiple institutions involved is often a good sign in research.
So what did they actually find? What's the headline result?
The main finding, as stated in the release, is that their pMSC product successfully treats rheumatoid arthritis in this animal model.
Successfully treats. Strong words. But you mentioned they went further, comparing it to other MSCs. That superiority claim.
Absolutely. That's a key piece here. They say they did a direct head-to-head comparison in the study. Their pMSCs against standard MSCs derived from bone marrow and umbilical cords.
Usual suspects, the more common sources for MSC research.
Yeah, right. And according to the press release, their pMSC product significantly outperformed both of those standard types of MSCs in this arthritis model.
Significantly outperformed. Okay, that implies a statistical difference. How do they measure that? What got better?
The specifics mentioned are reducing arthritis scores and paw swelling. So in these animals, their revitalized cells apparently did a better job at lessening the observable signs of arthritis and the physical swelling compared to the standard MSCs.
If that holds up, it suggests their two-step process might really be creating a more potent cell therapy, at least in this context. What does Immorta Bio say this implies?
They interpret it as suggesting their pMSCs have enhanced immunomodulatory and regenerative potential. Which makes sense, right? MSCs are thought to work by calming the immune system and helping repair damage.
And that's exactly what you'd want in RA.
Exactly. And they explicitly link this finding back to their bigger picture, the potential of their longevity therapy, as they call it, for treating immune-mediated diseases of aging.
Right. So this RA study isn't just about RA for them. It's positioned as a proof point for their whole approach to aging.
Precisely. Their chairman and CEO, Dr. Boris Reznik, is quoted with this ambitious mission: treating diseases of aging and treating aging as disease. This preclinical result is framed as support for that entire concept.
Treating aging as a disease. That's a really fundamental shift in thinking, isn't it? Moving beyond just managing symptoms of age-related illness to potentially targeting the aging process itself. The release mentioned they have two main platforms for this.
That's right. We've been talking about stem cell revivify. That's this young personalized stem cell approach. The second one they mentioned is called Senovaxa.
Senovax sounds like it relates to senescent cells.
You got it. Senescent cells are those older, sort of damaged cells that hang around, stop dividing properly, and can secrete inflammatory stuff. They're implicated in a lot of age-related problems.
The so-called zombie cells.
Yeah, that's the popular term. So Senovaxa is described as a senolytic immunotherapy. Senolytic means clearing out senescent cells. So it's therapy aimed at getting rid of those problematic cells.
Okay, so stem cell revivify is about adding young, good cells, and Senovax is about removing old, bad cells, kind of tackling aging from two different angles.
Seems like it. A complementary approach, potentially. The release mentions Senovax is initially being developed for lung cancer, interestingly.
Lung cancer, not just general aging.
Apparently. And footnotes indicate there's prior published work on it, presentations at scientific meetings too. So while this release highlights the stem cell results, they're clearly working on this other angle related to cellular senescence as well.
And Dr. Reznik connects the RA results back to both platforms, essentially.
Well, he uses the RA results specifically to talk about the scientific validation and therapeutic potential of their overall longevity technologies. So success in this age-related disease model with the stem cells is used to bolster the credibility of their entire anti-aging strategy, which includes both platforms.
I see the connection they're making. Okay, let's bring this back to the listener. Why should you care about this kind of preclinical study? It's early stage, it's in animals.
Well, for one, it's how potential future therapies begin. You have to test these ideas rigorously in preclinical models before you can even think about human trials. And the core concept here, trying to create a personalized, youthful, essentially unlimited source of a patient's own therapeutic cells, addresses a really fundamental challenge in regenerative medicine.
Yeah, that problem of getting enough good cells that your body won't reject. If this approach, or something like it, actually works reliably, that could be a game changer down the line.
Absolutely. It represents one potential way around those roadblocks we talked about earlier, using your own biological material, but kind of refurbished.
And it also plugs directly into that whole conversation about aging itself. This company is explicitly saying we're treating aging as a disease, or at least targeting diseases through the lens of cellular aging.
Right. So when they show success, even preclinically, in an age-related disease like RA, using a cell revitalization technique, they're essentially saying, see, targeting the age aspect of cells works. It's an attempt to validate their bigger hypothesis.
It's using a specific disease as a test case for a broader anti-aging concept. It shows you how researchers are trying to translate what we're learning about basic aging biology into actual therapeutic strategies.
Yeah, it's moving from theory about why we age to practical attempts to intervene.
Okay, so to quickly recap, we looked at Immorta Bio's press release describing their method for creating young personalized stem cells from a patient's own cells. We saw their preclinical results suggesting these cells worked better than standard MSCs in an animal model of rheumatoid arthritis.
And we connected that specific finding to their larger mission of tackling aging itself, alongside their other platform, Senovax, which targets senescent cells.
It's a fascinating glimpse into one company's strategy in the longevity field, which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. Imagine a future where treating aging itself isn't science fiction, but standard medical practice.
Where therapies based on things like revitalizing your cells or clearing out old damaged ones are commonly available.
What would that really look like? How would it change healthcare, how we think about preventing disease, even how we experience growing older? It's a huge potential shift, and research like what's described in this press release, while early, is part of laying the groundwork for exploring that very possibility.
It definitely gives you something to think about the potential future directions this kind of science might take us.
Absolutely. Food for thought. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.